Duncan from BED, and today we're going to be taking you through a nice in-depth review of my BMW M6. So last week we had a quick look at Billy's car. Didn't really say a lot, he just went, oh, it was really fast. I'm hoping to give you a bit of a more in-depth sight into the M6, why I bought one, and why generally I think it's a really good purchase for anyone really looking for a supercar in the kind of £15,000 to £20,000 budget range. So obviously Billy took his money, bought an M140. You've got Ed and his Mercedes E63, again another impressive car. And now really it's why I took my money and bought a car like this, with all the reliability issues and stuff that people cry about on the internet and terrify you away from the car, why I ended up buying this very car. So we're going to look at the boot space, the interior space, the general practicality of the car. Going to try and avoid looking at the miles per gallon figure, and just give you a general oversight into the E63. We'll start off with this interior. I absolutely love the interior of this car. Like, the seats are so supportive, the bolsters are reflated so you can get nice and tight, snug when you're driving like a twat, and then relax it when you want to just cruise down the road. The interior itself, I think it's aged really well for a car that's now 15 years old. You know, everything works, there's no clunks, there's no rattles, there's no squeaks. I drove a new BMW 320d and that was already squeaking, so everything's really well put together. Granted, I have spent a bit of money on the interior itself, so I've got the newer iDrive, so eagle-eyed of you will know that this is actually an 06 car, so it didn't have the newer CIC system iDrive, and it didn't have face LED indicators on the front or rear. That's all been retrofitted from a newer car. And honestly, the iDrive transforms it. The old system was a bit too laggy, a bit too slow. It did the job, but it wasn't great enough. This one is snappy, it's fast, I can actually use the sat-nav in it. It's great. Then you've got the sound system, so this car came standard every M6, I believe, with the Logic 7, which I think the equivalent of like a Harman Kardon option on the newer BMW, and I think it's absolutely bloody fantastic. And I know Ed and Billy will back me up on the sound system being good. Yeah, okay, it is a bit dated because you've got the big chunky bits of trim, you know, here, there, under the doors, and obviously on newer cars you don't have those chunky pieces of trim. It's all much more minimalist, bigger screen, stuff like that. But it's a 10-inch screen, it does the job. And obviously the best feature of the car are those M clocks and that lovely 200-mile-an-hour speedo. As for the rest of it, it's beautiful. I've retrofitted a few more bits as well. Red M button, red start stop button. It's got a heads-up display, which is absolutely fantastic, because obviously when you're doing legal speeds of 70 miles an hour, sometimes you can't always keep your eyes on the inside clocks. You've got to keep your eyes on the road, and that is absolutely brilliant when you're hammering it, because you can see what gear you're in, see how fast you go. And even generally, like, now I've had a heads-up display, I'll never go back to a car without it. So, a review of this car, what can I actually say? So it's quite noisy, number one. It's quite cramped for a car that's the size of the Queen's Palace. There's not a lot of boot space, it's not very economical at all. But what I can say is, one press of a button, this car, the number one thing to know is that the engine dominates absolutely everything. There is nothing that this engine cannot just ruin. Like, okay, those cars that are quicker. You've got the newer 6s that are insanely quick with the 650i's and the M6s with the twin turbo V8s. You've got Mercedes E63 remap, which are probably quicker as well. But who cares when you've got 10 cylinders that all do one thing, which is make any man with any sort of male instinct just get beyond happy. I can't quite disclose what kind of happiness happy is, but it's something. It is a masterpiece, and I genuinely to date think it's one of the best engines BMW have ever made. That 5-litre V10, absolutely phenomenal engine.
This design.
Yeah.
I need to get car wash now. You're making me look bad.
It gets love everywhere. So who cares if you do 3 mpg? Because at the end of the day, it is a fabulous car, and I don't care about the fuel economy. I don't care about the fact that it pisses oil whenever it feels like it. I don't care about the fact that the engine light's permanently on because I've destroyed the cat. I don't care about anything, because the second I want power, I press that button, I put my foot down, and the camera's gone. We're going to test out some of the practicality aspects of the car using Ed. So if you want to come round. So back seat space obviously in this car is great. Actually ideal. So Ed, if you want to demonstrate to the viewers the back seat space.
I will try and get in this without having too much overweight.
There we go. See, there we go. Right.
So it's slightly cramped. Headroom wouldn't be that comfortable for a long journey, but there's about that much headroom here. But I'm sort of leaning forward. Sitting comfortably isn't really feasible. If you bring the camera in, you can sort of see the top of my head is bang on the roof. And knee space here is literally very, very cramped. So anyone from about 6'1"-ish over isn't going to really sit very comfortably in the back seat of an M6.
Yeah, so brilliant and practical, and no one has got a 6'4" friend. So, Ed.
But again, the M6 isn't designed to have really carry passengers in the back.
It's my video. Stop interrupting. You could do your car over there. So another aspect of the car for practicality is boot space. So let's have a look at what the car's locked, so we can't get in the boot. But
there's a minor electrical issue with Duncan's M6 in the sense that the door always locks as soon as he gets out the car, which he's due to have fixed.
What's he said?
I think right, boot space.
Well, that's half the under tray from the car that's fallen off. But ignoring that, not a bad sized boot. Floor space under it. I mean, you can't really do anything with it. It's just a big battery and loads of screws, which you're not going to see, so ignore that. And a screwdriver, ignore all of that. Not look at that. There you go. Great, fantastic boot space. Enough for whatever I've got now, which is nothing important. Those are all the cards for my ex. I need to burn them.
Oh, really?
I think you should put that in the channel.
Well, she'll see that. Mate, it'll be some ultimate issue. If you then cut to me burning it in the bush, that'll be some problem. Well, anyway, so Ed, how would you say this car compares to your C63 then, in terms of the practicality side of things?
My boot space, I think, is on par with yours, so there's the same amount of boot space, but I'm convinced that there's more space in the back of mine for someone of my height to sit in the back. The roof, because yours is more of the 6 Series, the roof line slopes down, whereas mine is sort of more, you know, not hatchback, but it's sort of, the C-Class is, I've got more headspace. I've sat in the back of mine as well, and there's definitely more room than yours.
But then, in terms of actually the kind of compartment you sit in,
I prefer the comfort of your seat, especially the lower back bolsters where it comes out. My car has got a limited sort of, it doesn't inflate as much, so definitely more comfort.
And what about noise?
Since you've had your back box stripped, your car sounds a lot nicer. But obviously, higher rev rate does, but I still like it. Yeah, it sounds a lot good, really nice. But low down revs, obviously, normal driving up to about 40, prefer my car.
Fair enough. Oh, quite lovely. So that's a quick breakdown from Edward. So guys, now it's a different day, and you join me here at Munich Power at Jim's garage to undergo a service on the M6. And now is going to be a good time for me to talk you through the reliability, the issues I've had, and the kind of general costs of maintenance and running the car itself. It's now time to address the elephant in the room, reliability. So I've owned my car now since July 2019, and it's been absolutely faultless reliability wise. Screw the internet rumours, look after these cars and they will look after you just as much. I spent a lot of time looking for my car in particular, and eventually found the right car with the right amount of service history, all done at BMW main dealer or specialist outlets.
Servicing intervals were all under 10,000 miles and the all-important running in service was done. The only genuine weak point of the S85 engines found in the V10s and the S65 engines found in the E92 M3 V8 are the rod bearings. Eventually, any mileage over 60,000 has massive alarm sirens that you need to go and get them done. So my car was at 81,000 miles, so when I bought it into the budget I factored in the rod bearings, so I immediately drove off and got them done. This job costed me £1,686 in total, and gave me complete peace of mind after that to rack the V10 all the way up to 8,000 RPM without worrying about it. Throttle actuators also go. They're relatively cheap to fix, so this costed the previous owner around £470 in parts, and labour doesn't seem to be too expensive on these. So, looking through the past 10 years of bills on the car, there is only one bill that absolutely screamed out to me, almost enough to send me into a Kia with a 7-year warranty: the clutch. And my god, was that expensive when it went. So there's a receipt from BMW for £3,983 when the clutch went. Granted, this is a dealership price, but when asking my specialist, he said it would be around the £1,800 mark for a new clutch. Still not cheap by any extent of the imagination. A general service on the car comes to around £200 for an oil service, so not horrific by any means, but to keep these cars healthy and working properly, it's important to keep all the fluids fresh all the time. For example, today Munich Power are doing the gearbox oil, differential oil, engine oil and microfilters as part of the service. Road tax is also another killer to note, at £580 a year, or you try and slide in with a slightly earlier 55 plate car and they were capped at £330.
Right, so we've reached the end of the day. Jim's done his service on the M6. All is well, the car's nice and fresh. So in the coming weeks we're going to have Ed and his W204 AMG taking that out for a little spin and a full-on in-depth review. And then hopefully after that we'll have Billy's car out again for an in-depth review, a bit more than all cooked. And yeah, so thanks for watching guys. If you'd like to like, subscribe, and yeah, till the next one.